Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. There has been a significant development in Manipur. Security forces have successfully neutralized 11 suspected militants near Jiribam in Manipur. There was an encounter that unfolded after the suspected armed militants targeted civilians in the area. This prompted a swift counter-operation by the Central Reserve Police Forces. However, while the operation has been successful, one CRPF Jawaan has also been martyred. Meanwhile, authorities are closely monitoring the situation to prevent further escalation. This comes as Manipur has been witness to a fresh spate of violence over the last week, with several attacks taking place across the state. Earlier in Jiribam, a 31-year-old woman of 3 was charged to death after militants torched 17 houses in Zairawn village in Manipur. This was followed by a 34-year-old woman farmer being gunned down while working in the paddy fields at Bishnupur. But that's not all. Militants then also targeted farmers in Sanasabi, Lukol village in Imphal East, and the BSF and the Maha regime were quickly to come to the aid of the farmers. But one army Jawan was injured in the ensuing gunfire. This is no doubt that 360-degree action plan is the need of the hour, but there are a lot of constraints and challenges, and we are going to discuss that with our panelists today. Major General G. Dwivedi, does this come as a surprise that there has been an attack that has been made by these suspected militants? We've still not been the armed forces have still not, the CRPF has still not revealed their identities. 11 of them dead right now. They were targeting the civilians in Jiribam, and there has been unfortunately one CRPF Jawan also who has succumbed to injuries. Now, is in a situation such as this, how is it that the armed forces, the CRPF, the police are going to be able to secure and safeguard the lives of the civilians, because these incidents keep becoming more often a regular thing than an anomaly?
Megha, what is happening in Manipur doesn't come as a surprise, because we have been discussing the issue for last year and a half, and ironically the issue has been addressed more like event to event rather than through a very well calibrated strategy. There's a Mark Twain had famously said that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and that's exactly what is happening in Manipur. I go back point in time by about 2 decades. Manipur was in a similar state, but it was the battle between the militants and the security forces. And that's the time my division was deployed in Manipur, because government was defunct. All the roads like NH37, NH50 were blocked, and militants were running in liberated zones. And today, the situation is same. The state government is totally ineffective. In fact, the chief minister cannot get out of Imphal. He can't even go to Chandpur. NH37 is blocked. And irony is that the woman who was charged to death, her body could not be sent to Imphal. It had to be sent to Silchar. The point is that today, what Manipur is, purely I can state in one simple sentence: the situation has been mishandled over last 18 months. And had it been addressed right in May, this would have happened. Today, what is happening? That same militants whom we are actually targeting are the front face of the different communities like UNLFL, KVKL, PLA are the front faces of Militants. And KLA, Kuti Liberation Army, and fringe groups are the front faces of Kukis. And 2 communities are today at war. And they are today in the buffer zone. What armed forces are doing are basically, looking and ensuring sanctity of buffer zone. They are not able to carry out concrete anti-militant operations because of 3 important reasons. Firstly, there is a dichotomy in command and control. The unified headquarters being controlled by center, the state does not have any say in that. Secondly, the security forces are not under same synergized control. They are acting depending upon what is the requirement. And third point is that if you want the security forces to carry out the unimpeded operation, you got to have the Armed Forces Special Power Act imposed. Without that, the armed forces are actually the hands tied to the back. So all I can say today, Mega, that Manipur needs very quick surgical type of treatment.
Okay.
Because the state government is ineffective. It's the time that central rule, president rule imposed. The armed forces are given very clear mandate
Right.
to disarm groups. Otherwise, this type of violence is going to continue. It
Yeah.
may be a
Okay.
dull period, but is not going to actually address this situation on the ground.
Okay, so, all right. Major General Dhruv Katoj, coming to you, because there was, this is a very concerning statement that came from the Home Ministry a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, and the Home Ministry refused to acknowledge that there are militants that are operating on the soil of Manipur. It refused to acknowledge that these suspected militants had arms and ammunition. If you remember, there was a drone attack that had taken place on the armed forces a few weeks ago, last month that it took place. There were conflicting statements. First, from the state government, where it acknowledged that these are armed rebellion which is being infiltrated from Myanmar into the Manipur borders, and then the central government completely denying it. So I don't understand, why is this issue not being tackled head on, and why is there so much back and forth happening?
Thank you, Megha. Megha, what General Dwivedi said, I totally agree with that. You see, something needs to be done drastically now, because the situation has slipped out of hand. It is not something which is going to happen in the future. It has slipped out of hand, and it is time to regain control. That is the first point. The second point, as far as the arms and ammunition, listen, arms and ammunition were coming from the Myanmar border even earlier. So I see no reason why something like that could be denied. It is a historical fact, and it's not something which is new. It has been happening for decades now. So arms and ammunition have been moving from across the border from Myanmar, where there are a lot of sanctuaries available. The Myanmar government doesn't have the reach really to address those issues. The question of the usage of drones. Now, really, that question, that was the question which raised a lot of hackles all around. It was stated by the state that drones are being used, and were denied later by the army and the center. Now, very frankly, I think drones are being used there. They may not be used to attack or something, but the point is drones are being used for various reasons. And I think we need to put a stop to that. It is the usage of drones is a very serious escalation. But the fourth escalation, because all this what I've said is internal, the fourth escalation, you see, when the Chief Minister of Mizoram now, when he goes to the United States and he makes a statement regarding the creation of a Christian state, please remember this was the same statement which had been made by Sheikh Hasina before she was thrown out of Bangladesh. Now, I think these are very serious things, because the Chief Minister of Mizoram appeared to be in active collusion in making a statement like that.
Yeah.
The crowd which he was speaking to was a Christian group in the United States, and he was really advocating for that. A lot of denials, etc., have come out now, but the point is very clear. I think this question of a foreign hand trying to create interference here, it must be taken very seriously. It is no longer a political issue.
Okay.
It is the issue of national security. It is as serious as the Khalistani issue which is developing in Canada, and we need to take it very seriously. There's a Christian issue operating in Manipur, which we need to take very seriously. Megha.
Okay, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, how do we tackle the situation? On one hand, there are political appeasement that is happening for vote bank politics, statements coming in from the Mizoram Chief Minister of demanding moving forward with the secessionist movement of sorts, of having a separate state that should be carved out of Myanmar, Bangladesh and India for the Kuki Zoo people. And on the other side, the hands of the armed forces, the CRPF, are clearly tied, because the central government does not want to make a move, does not want to make a decisive decision for whatever reasons that it finds to be appropriate here.
Megha, it's deeply perturbing and concerning about the situation in Manipur. And unfortunately, I would say, though yes, the government would have done their bit and they've tried their best. I will not say they have not, but it indeed is not enough. Had it been enough, we would have seen results on ground. But apart from the government, leave alone the government, even the people of Manipur, in fact, even they have to bring in peace. So we clap with two hands. We cannot clap with one, only the government doing things. Both sides, it has to be functional well. Now, Jiribam, a very peaceful place which is under fire right now. And the situation, the tension in Jiribam was a build-up. It was building up the whole of September when I had analyzed it much earlier that Jiribam, if it's not controlled right now, just like the entire state Manipur, Jiribam also where a lot of Mar population, HMAR, it's pronounced as Mar. So where the Mar population which have an affinity towards Mizoram, but which comes overall under the Kuki umbrella basically. So where they would be having a problem. So what we are seeing right now, we are seeing the violence between the CRPF and I would call locals. Locals, when I say locals, I would include Maitya Kuki. I mean, I'll not say Maitya Kuki differently. I'll say the locals. So we are having a problem over there, and we have one CRPF Jawaan was killed, and there were other. There were some other people, the Kuki or whoever the armed insurgents or whoever they were also killed. So the very fact is, how do we bring in peace? What will happen? How? The foreign, as both general officers earlier have very rightly and very accurately analyzed the situation that yes, it is no longer a political problem. It's a matter of national security, which started off initially, I would say, a political problem. Have you ever seen ministers kith and kin, apart from very rare cases? But normally we don't see ministers kith and kin becoming casualty to ethnic violence or communal violence or rioting or such things. Why? Because obviously the creation is mainly political. When the creation is political, how can we have a military solution to that? That to a military solution with the armed forces, the security agencies having their hands behind the backs. So the very fact is, Indian Army is doing a commendable job, which is led by Assam Rifles, which is led by the Indian Army officers. I had the fortune of being a company commander with the Assam Rifles, and I was sent on deputation. They are doing a commendable job, totally neutral, totally impartial, who will only protect the side which is getting beaten, the side which is getting victimized. So how do we get a solution for that?
Yeah.
So we had a meeting of the Martyred and the Cookies recently at the Home Ministry's initiative. But what was the outcome? What was the result? That's important. So I strongly say, I strongly say they urgently should be a solution. Whatever they do, Sam, Dam, Dan, Bed, but bring peace in Manipur, Megha.
Okay, all right. I also have with me RVS Mani, former Under Secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Situations such as this, where are we at this point of time, are even fearful of calling these armed men as militants or as terrorists, because if you look at reports, and even the report that we played out, they are quote unquote suspected militants. They are instead of using the term militant, we end up using armed men. Now again, a differentiation over here where the armed forces have to adhere to it. The armed forces continue to say it is a problem of border security, it is the problem of ensuring that the national security and integrity continues to be sustained in face of this terrorism that is emanating from across the border and infiltrating into our borders from Manipur. But politicians, whether it is talking about the state government or the central government, continue to seem to be playing political games for whatever reasons that they think are going to be best for them.
Let me be very clear about it. Incidentally, both my respected generals have brought out the issue very cogently that it is a problem and we require a resolute action. This is the time for resolute action and we have to take it as a national security issue. and there could be no second way of dealing with it. And when the army and the defense forces are really fighting it with backs to the wall, with so much of politicking happening, and which is it's a challenge to the national security, but trying to be given an ethnic color, that is absolutely wrong. It's basically infiltration. Some foreign hands are there. And incidentally, as soon as the Mizoram Chief Minister goes and gives a statement, 10 cookie MLAs deny that even the Chief Minister had ever had a conversation. This is all over the place. The issue about this is that we need to be very clear about it. There is a need for resolute action. The security forces should be given the umbrella of AFPSA that has to come into force. Otherwise, they could be facing trouble for really acting in the national interest. And all these foreign elements, because it has to be a more now since that, see, Mizoram has been having its own problem, but the recent statement of the Chief Minister of Mizoram in a different country, in the United States, he is speaking of a creation of a Christian state of Mizos, the cookies and the chins and all that. That is certainly it is an eye opener for us. We need to take that along and interpolate that information with this, get the intelligence and really go for resolute action. There is no second. In fact, a few days back on your own channel, I have flagged about this Mizoram issue also coming up, and we have a Naga on the northeast front of the Manipur. There again is an issue. Nagaland could also be. It could spill over to Nagaland if this is not controlled at this stage. So these are all very sensitive areas. And once it goes into Nagaland, they will talk about greater Nagaland on one side, the Mizoram pushing it on the other side. What will be the state? And also the state government should be dismissed immediately. Central should take full control of the situation and proceed toward resolute action. Get the intelligence, seal the borders of Manipur, get whatever you want. Give total, and again, General Dwivedi had said about unified command. Yes, unified command is the need of the hour. This I have been saying for the last 1 year. That let there be a unified command, lot of synergy among the security forces. Take a resolute action. The commander-in-chief of the area should be given the total command of it, total autonomy with no political intervention, and take charge of the situation. That is what I wanted to.
Okay, Major General G. Dwivedi, now this is a double-edged sword, right? There is ethnic violence and communities have been fighting against each other, and then on top of it, you are at this point of time fighting the border menace, the militancy that has ended up killing civilians, ended up killing CRPF Jawans, the armed forces. And this is, we have not been able to find a solution for it up until now. This has been a problem that continues to brew for decades together. What hope do we have that this is now going to be tackled in the next few months?
Well, Megha, I think all the panelists on the same page. There is time to act now, and we cannot leave Manipur to fate accompli. I think that is going to be catastrophic. The actions are threefold. First and foremost, there has to be a political will to act, and act in a very, very significant and act in a very resolute manner. Secondly, once you have decided, then there has to be a blueprint. And to start with, you've got to restructure the whole political setup. The current government of Manipur actually has lots of confidence among the people. This needs to go. Center has to step in, and once center steps in, then the armed forces have to be given very clear mandate, a mandate to disarm and to bring in some kind of semblance of peace, so that the two communities can be brought to the table simultaneously as the issue of security is concerned. That's paramount, because the situation, the whole region is very vulnerable today. There are hostile forces in Bangladesh, Myanmar is imploding, China is looking for opportunities, Pakistan is at the old game. We can't let that happen, because it will be totally inferno. And as it is brought out also by General Katoj and Mani, that these other communities, Nagas, are also feeling uncomfortable. They are also going to ruffle the feathers, Mizos and others, northeast states. So I think it's time before it spreads to whole region, before we become really helpless. I think still we have time, and time is to act now without wasting any more time, time to act resolutely, and time with a will to solve the issue and not to keep
Okay.
it on the pot boiling.
Okay, all right. Let me also once again invite Major General Dhruv Katoch. In the situation such as this, why do you think the state governments that have successively come in Manipur, in Nagaland, in Mizoram, and also talking about the central government are so hesitant in finding a solution, taking strong action, and nobody seems to want to jump into the inferno and waiting for the next government to come so that then the opposition, which was the erstwhile government, can put the blame on the current government?
No, I think there is a very serious political issue involved. So unless we have political unanimity, getting a focused plan of action to resolve the issue will always remain a challenge. Having said that, militarily, the army cannot operate there, including the Assam Rifles, without the AFSPA being imposed. The police forces can be employed without ASPA, and so can the CRPF, but not the army. We are constitutionally not mandated to do so. So if the army has to operate, then I'm afraid there is no shortcut to impose ASPA, and there is a hesitation in putting ASPA on certain areas in Manipur because that will be seen as a sign of weakness. But not doing so, I think, will have even more severe consequences. And the third point is, I think we need to get very seriously behind this foreign interference, especially in terms of foreign funds. The weapons and all that, I think the armed forces can sort out, but we need to put a stop on the funding. And once the funding is stopped, or a squeeze can be put, that I think is the answer. We need to keep a very close watch on the church groups. It is becoming a Christian terrorist groups there. It is no longer a local mighty or or the Nagas or something. It is very simple Christian terrorist organizations being supported by the West with an agenda. I think with the new dispensation coming in Washington, things are going to change. But till then, I think we need to be careful.
Okay.
Megha.
Okay. Major Ali Shah, I remember just recently, a few months ago, when the Lok Sabha elections campaigning was in full stead. Rahul Gandhi was doing his Bharat Jodo Yatra, started it from Manipur, took it out until Maharashtra. He reached Mumbai, and it was a burning issue that the opposition had raked up every single day, every few hours when these politicians were holding their rallies and making public speeches. It was a number one issue when the Lok Sabha session in the parliament started. But all that seems to have completely doused now.
Right, Megha, yes, as you rightly brought out some time back, that the identity of the about 11 men who've been killed, who are armed men, it has not been disclosed. It's not been as yet. So it's suspected militants, suspected insurgents, suspected, they were armed men, and so there was a gunfight. Yes. Now, secondly, as you mentioned about some time back about the elections. Yes, Megha, it is. It starts off, any problem, it starts off as politically motivated. That's the root of it. And thereafter, it emerges and becomes severe to such an extent that what we are seeing in Manipur right now. Unfortunately and sadly, people are not really much focusing much on the violence that's happening in Manipur. People would be more interested in, unfortunately, in US elections, Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Lebanon, Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan. In fact, Manipur is our own state which has contributed so much in nation building. In fact, our Indian Army soldiers are deployed in Lebanon, because Lebanon was the news, I'm saying this, part of the UN contingent. I can proudly say that, Indian Army troops, which are consisting of also the Nagas, the Meiteis and Kukis, they are there, part of the Indian Army contingent in Lebanon, working shoulder to shoulder to get world peace. The Indian ambassador to Lebanon is from Manipur, he's a Pangal, Sheikh Rahman Saab. So the very fact is, Manipur, which has contributed a great deal towards nation building, we not only have Maricom and Mirabai Chanu and Ratan Thyam from Manipur, we have a whole lot of people, not just nation building, but regarding the international world peace, their contribution is immense. And unless and until we actually put all our energies, our first priority of the nation, if that becomes getting peace in Manipur at any cost. Otherwise, what will happen? Our adversaries, our foreign powers who are not happy with India's growth, India's progress, will take advantage of this fact. And it's most certainly has become not just a political problem, but of national security. And the people who have been killed today, it is very sad. And today it's in Jiribam. Tomorrow it will happen somewhere else if it's not curtailed right now, immediately. And we cannot, as General Katoj said, army cannot operate without Armed Forces Special Power Act over there.
Right.
What will they do? It will be like, so the AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, which is very controversial, I understand. It can be tweaked a bit, it can be modified a bit.
Okay.
It cannot be done away with completely, Megha.
Okay. All right. RVS Mani, again, a very important point that was raised by Major Muhammad Ali Shah. When you have, public figures, celebrities, sports persons, sports stars, particularly from Manipur and the northeastern part of India. We talk about Maricom, he spoke about Mirabai Chanu. How important does it become for their participation, for them to become role models, to be the voice of the people, to then seek peace? Because when the people of Manipur are going to look at their role models who are fellow Manipuris, do you think it is going to have more of an impact?
Certainly, it will have impact, but that is secondary or tertiary stage. First, we have to take control and bring in peace, disarm, clean up the Manipur as a state, Manipur, the entire territory, clean up, bring a position from where these type of role models could be projected out in propaganda, and also asking the Manipuris to join the mainstream, to dismay disregard any myth about their being persecuted. Those things can happen only must be controlled. The government of India is under control of the entire territory. The territorial control is paramount here. And for that only, as General Katoj pointed out, AFPSA has to be invoked and RB has to be handed over with a unified command structure. That is number one. There is no alternative to that. And I disagree that AFPS needs to be tweaked. It is as it is. It is not a bad act, but over a period of time, vested interest politicians have made it a bad act, looking like a draconian act, but it is certainly not a bad act, excepting for UN reports of human rights. Basically, it's a very good act. It is required if you require the security forces to handle these type of challenges triggered by political agenda. Otherwise, it is not at all a bad act. I do not agree with anybody. It needs to be in the present shape and form and content, and that has to be that cushion, that umbrella has to be given for the enabling the army and the other security forces to be really working there without any controversy.
Okay.
That's what I wanted.
Okay, all right. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast and speaking about this very sensitive issue. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.